Welcome one, welcome all back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. Obviously, you're home for all things Washington Commanders, and obviously, we appreciate each and every one of you. Things are not going the way we want them to for our Commanders this season, but nevertheless, there is some hope, and we'll talk to you about that tonight. We also got some interesting quarterback talk I want to get into first, fellas. I was thinking about this today. Um, Given some of the reports about Bo Nix and his struggles, CJ Stroud, remember his rookie year? He was like, you know, elite his rookie year, and then the second year didn't go so hot. Um, Baker Mayfield, even going back to 2014, I think it was, had a great rookie year, kind of fell off the face of the earth his second year. And now Jayden Daniels this year. First of all, do you put Jayden in the category with the others? I just sort of mentioned, Bo Nix aside, but like CJ Stroud, who had a great rookie year and then kind of had a not as great second year. Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield might be the most famous example of that because he got to the point where they didn't play him anymore, and eventually they moved on from him. But his rookie year, he was pretty dang solid. Do you kind of put Jayden in that same category at this point in the season, or do you think it's a little bit different circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't. Hopefully, we don't see him play again for the rest of the year. Um, but looking back, like CJ Stroud is a really interesting example because he wasn't even that bad his second year. He just wasn't as immaculate as he was. Like he was just unbelievable his rookie year. I think he just exceeded. So in that respect, I think Jayden is close to that because again, Jayden wasn't terrible when he played. He just wasn't just magic every time he touched the football. And that's kind of like the same thing that CJ Stroud was. And some of that has to do with injuries. Some of that has to do with defenses adjusting. So it remains to be seen where he progresses from here. But I mean, CJ Stroud is back in year three. He's playing really well this year. After some, early on, he wasn't as great. The last, 3-4 weeks outside of the injury he just had, he's been really good. But I can put Jayden in that category and Baker Mayfield too. Baker's a little bit of a different situation because he's in Cleveland, which is just a train wreck of a football team. And even Sam Darnold, he was just terrible. You see guys like them that just go to bad franchises and they struggle and everybody calls them busts. Then they go to stable franchises and they turn into good quarterbacks. And I think that's kind of what happened with Baker Mayfield. Probably a support system wasn't quite there, as evidenced by how is Cleveland doing since they since they moved on from Baker Mayfield. So, but yeah, I would put Jayden in that category. I don't think it's everybody's kind of down on him because he's not a top 10 quarterback right off the bat this year, and they were kind of expecting that from him, but it might have been a little bit unreasonable, but he was still pretty good even when he did play.
Yeah, and like it's hard because I don't go so far as to say that Jayden's in a sophomore slump. I don't think that. I think the organization really failed him going into this season. I think they tried to succeed for him with boosting or like bolstering up the offensive line, but I think in all the other areas, skill position players, they kind of dropped the ball on it. Mike, do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, and honestly, it's not even limited to just the offense. Coincidentally, I was just talking to someone about this a couple of days ago. The defense was so bad this season that it kind of cancels out anything that the offense did badly or well because one side of the ball was so horrible. But as far as Jayden and the offense goes, like you said, when he was there, the offense, of course, it didn't look like 2024, but it was still okay for a 2025 NFL offense. Even now, in the middle of the stats, they're middle of the pack. They're not like at the very bottom like the defense. I just think it's a testament to Kingsbury and the way he call plays, regardless of what pieces are in the game. They're at least producing something, but because the other side of the ball is producing worse than nothing, it's really hard to gauge the offense. And if you see my headline or my tagline underneath my name, it says "Take your medicine," because I really feel like that this is what 2025 was about, not just for Jayden, but for the entire organization. It's going to take more than him. Last year, everything fell into place perfectly, so we were able to ride that momentum to a championship game. But you see, that's not going to happen every season, so you need to be prepared for that. So it didn't matter what happened with Jayden, rather he played like 2024 or how he's playing this season. It really didn't matter because the defense is bad. bad.
Yeah. But what do you think, Eric, is the biggest difference for Jayden in his play between 2024 and the 2025 season, other than health?
Well, I mean, the injury is first and foremost. But if you remember last year, especially in the second half of the year, he was pretty much all the team had in the run game. And with the early injury that he had this year, that was gone. He's not going to lead the team in rushing with a bad knee at quarterback. So that instantly takes away some of the game because you saw him. He was still mobile, but he wasn't just as fluid as he was with that big clunky knee brace on. So that has a lot to do with it. And like you said, getting back to the failures to upgrade around him, the running game arguably, I don't even think arguably got worse because Brian Robinson, while he was really nothing special as a running back, he was at least like a competent starter. Whereas you don't really have that this year. They had really high hopes for Croskey-Merritt, but he's kind of fizzled and he's looking really, as the weeks have progressed, he's just looking really indecisive, much more so than he was early in the season where he was just planting his footing and going. And Rodriguez is just, the carries haven't been there for him. It's been inconsistent as far as like getting him touches. McNichols is what he is. I mean, McNichols is a great back to have on your team, but he's not like a starting running back. He's a great third down back. He's a great change of pace guy, but he's not that lead back. So they don't have that, and they can't depend on Jayden to be the leading rusher. So that hurts him immediately. And I think some teams, you saw Green Bay, especially with the quarters coverage, they did a really good job of just like reining everybody in and keeping, making him kind of making Jayden rather hesitate a little bit before throwing the ball. You saw him. That was the first time I saw him since early in his rookie year look like really indecisive. Like that first Tampa game that he played, like his original game was the last time I saw him look as indecisive as he did against Green Bay. Again, the Dallas thing where he has no receivers. He's throwing the Robbie Chosen as his number one receiver against, Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs. He's got nowhere to throw the football, and Zach Ertz can't catch everything. So there's a lot going into it. Some of it is on Jayden's, he hasn't progressed, but there's a lot more that goes into it than just him regressing as a quarterback. Because I don't think he's regressed. I just don't know that he's taken that next step. But I don't know that the team has empowered him to do that either with, going into the season, depending on Noah Brown. Like that's just a failure from day one. And, with Terry McLaurin being hurt, Deebo Samuel is a great weapon, but he really needs other pieces around him to be at his best. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But, yeah, I think Jayden certainly has struggled a little more than he has, last year, as most quarterbacks do at some point in their career. It's just really about how he can adjust moving forward to get back to the level that we've seen him play at before.
Yeah, I think it's a good point about Jayden's lack of mobility. I mean, he's still mobile, but he's not quite what he was last season. He was explosive last season. He's good mobility from a mobility perspective this year, but you don't see that explosiveness where he's knocking out 30 to 40 yard gains easily, especially when they're facing man coverage. I think for me, what you're missing from Jayden this year is a downfield passing attack, right? Mm-hmm. Jayden was very good about pushing the ball down the field, which completely changed everything about the way the defenses played them in the box and everywhere else, right? And so I don't know if that's a Jayden thing or if that's a receiver thing, right?
Yeah, you got to have somebody that can get downfield.
Have somebody that can do it. And that was Terry last year. And Diami, for all Diami's faults, he could get past the second level on the defense and get open down there. He might not catch it all the time, but he could get there, at least threaten the defense. Who is that guy this year? Like, who is our deep threat this year? I don't think we have anyone because Terry's not healthy. Is Jalen Lane that guy? I mean, he's shown some 2 flashes of that, but that's about it. And I think that's really what is hurting this offense because it's compressing the defense because they know that we can't attack down the field. And they're not afraid of that whatsoever.
I think it's twofold, Ellie. It's not only can we not attack downfield, but the only receiver that's consistently getting open against man coverage is Zach Ertz. So when you have receivers that can't get open underneath and you don't have nobody that could go over the top, it's kind of hard to produce on offense. But like I was saying earlier, they're still finding a way to do it. And that's why I'm not super concerned for year 2 with Jayden Daniels. I say it's either a little better or about the same as what Stroud did last year, and he led his team to the playoffs again, and they won a game again. So it kind of doesn't matter, like if it was a slump or if anyone calls it a slump or not, because I know what I saw this year, I know what I saw last year, I know his mentality. I'm pretty sure if they let him come back, he will play again this season because he just loves to play football, and that's one of the best criteria you could have for a quarterback, in my opinion, to be passionate and love to play the game. So I'm still super optimistic about the future, but this year just simply was not it.
Do you guys buy into this notion that Jayden Daniels struggles, or at least is not as efficient versus man coverage? I think in his rookie year, he was like 78% completion against zone, 55% against man. And if that is the case, what would cause that I want to hear from each of you though, but from your perspective,
I got you. In my opinion, at least, the reason why it works so well versus Washington is because what I just said earlier. They can't beat man coverage. Even last year, they kind of struggled getting open outside of McLaurin and Brown, but Brown missed a lot of the missed a lot of the season, during the season and later in the season. And McLaurin is only one person, so they could easily take him out the game. So if they didn't run zone, man was shutting them down. Also, on top of that, it's easy to spy. But I think it's easier to do a spy in man coverage than zone coverage. And if you're limiting his options passing and you're limiting his options running, it took advantage of a rather weak offensive line that Washington had last year. And I think that caused him to be rushed in man defenses compared to zone defenses. And this year, it got worse because, again, the talent around him, especially at receiver, got much worse. And I think that has a major effect on the numbers.
And teams really should not be able to play man defense versus Jayden Daniels, especially if you're sending receivers down the field, because it should open up massive running lanes for Jayden. But because they're not really our receiver, like I saw a video somebody tweeted out where like a few seconds into the play, most of the receivers are still trying to win at the line of scrimmage. And it's like, what are you supposed to do with that? You know,
it's just that bad this year. Yeah. Yeah, I think Mike nailed it. It's really hard to beat man coverage when your receivers can't get open. There's some trust factor there. Like I think with Terry McLaurin last year, he did have some of those, go get it balls. I don't know that he has the level of trust with his receivers that he's worked with this year to get there. And if guys aren't open. It's hard to beat man coverage unless you completely trust your receiver, which is why he's so reliant on Zach Ertz. And he, early in the season, he had a nice rapport with Deebo Samuel as well, but Deebo was also running wide open on some of those underneath routes too. And I don't know if those were, versus man or zone, but, it just comes down to reading your keys when you're looking at man coverage. If you can identify where the one-on-one matchup is, that's where you go first. That's your first look against man coverage. Can that guy get open? Can Jalen Lane beat the corner to give Jayden Daniels a window to throw to? After that, if he's coming off his first read, starting to scan the field, then you've got that pass rush, because usually man-to-man coverage means there's an extra rusher somewhere, or there's a spy on you, who's somebody's just watching your every move. So it gets a little bit more tricky. Something for him to work on. I'm sure he could improve at it, but I think the receivers are the main reason he's probably better against zone than he is against man.
Yeah,
you can scheme better. You can scheme guys open against either, but throwing into windows is a little. I don't know. I'm not a quarterback, so throw to the open area of the field might be easier than throwing a guy open for some quarterbacks. Maybe that's Jayden's thing.
Yeah, and I think when you're playing against zone, you can do just like you said, find open spots on the defense, right, and sit down. And I think teams are essentially saying like, we're going to put everybody in the box that we possibly can, and leave our safeties one-on-one with our number 2 receiver, which at this point is Luke McCaffrey. They're not worried about Luke McCaffrey beating them. I mean, Luke has done
not even Luke McCaffrey.
I'm about to say it's not even him anymore.
Oh yeah, he's out too. Yeah, who was it?
Jacoby Myers this week.
Not Jacoby Myers. That's the Raiders guy traded. You mean
it's Chosen, isn't it? Chris Moore,
Robbie Chosen,
and 2.
Well, Debo's
And
still in there. No,
somebody
they just
Brian.
I
they just
forgot about
elevated.
Debo.
They just have elevated a
Yeah.
Jacoby something. I don't know.
Pause on that for a second. You said something that I've been thinking about, or that triggered a thought that I've been thinking about for a minute. I said that Moore was 1 and Chosen was 2, and you was like, don't forget about Debo. Debo is not a prototypical wide receiver that I'm going to depend on to produce in the offense when I need like actual man beaters. I need an actual receiver. And that's no disrespect to him at all. But if you notice, since McLaurin and Brown and all these receivers that went out, Debo isn't really stepping up because he's not a technician at wide receiver. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. He's not a technician at wide receiver. For my wide receiver 1 and 2, I need technicians. I need a Keenan Allen. I need a Antonio Brown. I need a Terry McLaurin, a Santana Moss. I need somebody on those outsides to get to work when they're on the island, when they're double team. I need them to get to work. Debo isn't that receiver, but that's no disrespect with him because I want him on my team because he can do everything else. But he's just not beating people on the outside, and I'm okay with that. But that's why I don't mention him as wide receiver 1 and 2 because he's just not a wide receiver 1 and 2. He's a gadget player, and that's wonderful.
Get him in space. That's your goal with Debo.
He
Jacoby
won't be
Jones
here next
is the
year, about a
receiver.
year.
Jacoby Jones. There you go. Sorry, next
He
year we'll have
won't.
Carnell Tate. It'll be way better.
Debo will not be back next season. I was
You don't
hesitant
think so?
entering the year that he was going to come back, and based on what he's done, I know we gave up the 5th round pick for him, but I just feel like he might price himself out of a return to Washington, and that's going to suck because we probably need him. But I mean, it is what it is. I think it'll be easier to find another Debo in the draft than the outside technician over that. Like we can get like Jayden Lane might even can replace Debo next year. I'm just saying like there are other options to find a Debo, but look how hard it's been to find another McLaurin.
Hey, we got another Noah Brown.
Oh goodness.
Treylon Burks already hurt, in case anybody doesn't know.
I found out about the surgery before I found out about the injury. Okay. I was like, who had surgery on what?
All right, we got Noah Brown's spot locked down. Don't you worry. He's got his spot on injured reserve all set for next year. Treylon Burks.
Ridiculous. He might be back after the battle.
Oh, man. So, Eric, you brought up an interesting point I want to dive into, too. The running game. Quarterback aside, is the running game with the running backs better this year or worse than what it was last year?
I think it's worse. I think Robinson, for all his faults, is a better lead back than anybody in this group. Robinson, throughout his career, has shown he's a 700 or 800 yard a season running back. And which running back on this team right now is that guy? Even with Austin Eckler, when he was healthy, he wasn't that guy. We just don't have – this team just doesn't have like a bell cow running back. They thought it was going to be Croskey-Merritt. It may still at some point, but I think he's in his head a little bit because he just looks so indecisive running the ball these past couple of weeks. Go back and watch like the first couple of games, the Giants game, the Chargers game, where he was just planting and going. He was crisp with his cuts. He's just not there. He had one decent run. I think his first carry last week was like a decent run that kind of was reminiscent, but then he was just right back to tiptoeing again. And, Chris Rodriguez, I think he is also injured now because everyone else is. So why wouldn't he be? He is probably the closest thing this team has to that type of back. But we've just never seen it from him. Like the volume just hasn't been there for him. Like he'll come in and rip off like a 9-yard run and then you won't see him again. And maybe that's what he is in this league. He's just that guy that comes in to spell the starter and rips off a big run. And everybody wonders why he doesn't play more. Then he plays more and you're like, oh, that's why. But we don't know because we just haven't seen it. And maybe we won't because he's injured now. And like I said, I think, McNichols, like I said before, he is what he is. Really good third down back. Good out of good. He could he does everything good, nothing great. But we've seen a couple of like huge runs, huge plays from him as well. But he's not Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley. he's capable of producing for you, but he's just, he's a, like, I don't know, he's the jack of all trades kind of back that you need on your football team. But again, there's no lead back on this football team, and that's the problem. And until we get that, the team is just going to continue to struggle.
I'll offer a counterpoint.
Uh-oh.
Looked at the stats from 2024 and 2025 while you were talking, and I felt like this was true, but I needed the numbers to see it. The running backs are averaging more yards per carry this year compared to last year. It's not a lot, but they're averaging more yards per carry. And I noticed that the runs that they've been getting this season, the chunks have been larger. It's just the consistency has been awful. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but because of the defense, like the game script gets completely thrown out the window to the point where I think there's no rhythm to the running game. And that's maybe why the inconsistency might be lacking, or the consistency is lacking when it comes to running the ball for the team. But last year, Robinson averaged 4.0 yards a carry, and Croskey-Merritt averaging 4.5. Last year, Rodriguez was averaging about 4.1. This year, he averaging 4.4. McNichols is averaging 7.6 yards a carry. So I just feel like that's an outlier. Like, don't even include that. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think last year's running game, if it's better, is not that much better than this year's running game. It's just, again,
tale of two halves too, because like you think about Croskey-Merritt's rushing, like the first couple of weeks of the season, he was leading the NFL in yards per carry. He was averaging like 6.8 per carry. But if you go like the last 4 weeks, guarantee you that's where that balances out to the 4 yards a carry, because he's way lower. And same thing like last year, Brian Robinson early in the season was having a really strong year till he got injured around like week 6 or 7, and he was never quite. He had came back, had 100-yard game, and then he was basically non-existent for the rest of the year. So I'm sure if we look at it at the end of the year, it'll probably look pretty similar to last year. But your point about the defense is spot on, because you can't commit to the run game when you're down by 20 points every week.
Yeah, and Robinson also last year started fumbling, and then he became highly ineffective when that started happening. Same thing that happened to Croskey-Merritt. Now, statistically, Croskey-Merritt, he's on pace to essentially tie Robinson's numbers from last year, except for we don't know if he's going to get any more carries the rest of the way. But Croskey-Merritt has, to this point in the season, 470 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Last year, Brian Robinson Jr. had, what was it? I have it right here, 800 yards rushing, 700 and something yards rushing, and 8 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? So, like, Croskey-Merritt was on pace. Now, how they reset and restructure this run game going forward, I don't know. But I think it's the same. But the difference is the impact, if you ask me, right? And I think even though McNichols, I think, is on pace to have better statistics than Eckler did last year, Eckler was more impactful to me in terms of what he did and when he made his plays. And, of course, Eckler was doing it while we were winning or tied. And most of what we're doing this year with the guys that we have is when we're behind, which kind of lends to the fact that, like, McNichols is going to do better when we're behind because we're throwing the ball more. A Croskey-Merritt would do better if we were winning more because he'd get more attempts, theoretically, running the football. And then Rodriguez, I don't know. Like, who Rodriguez reminds me of? I know I texted you guys Alfred Morris when he runs, but really it's Jonathan Williams. To your point, Eric.
Same thing. Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, he's effective when he's in. I just can't explain to you why he's not in more. Like, it's the same thing we had about him. And we'll never get those answers. So it just, shout out to Jonathan Williams, Jay Will, by the way. But I don't
friend
get
of the
it.
show.
Friend of the show. Very good friend of the show. And I was hopeful that this offseason Cliff we talked about it on this podcast that Cliff's going to want to run more because we beefed up our offensive line. Cliff is still Cliff, and he thinks that the short passing game is an extension of the running game, and so be it, his prerogative, his right. But we got to do something to start figuring out how to keep the defense off the field. And if I see one more game where we open up with 3 straight passes and a 3 and out, I'm going to lose my mind, right? Like, believe in the running game, man, if you will. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys think that we need to address the running back position at the RB1 this offseason, or is it still wait and see for both of you?
If it can improve it, go for it. I'm not saying don't use a first round pick, but if you can find somebody who, if you have a fourth round draft pick, which I don't think we do, but if you manage to make a couple trades and end up with a draft pick, then
I think we do have a
and you
fourth.
think somebody can improve on him, then sure. I think there may be bigger needs, but
there's this running back from Notre Dame that everybody's talking about. I think Jeremiah Love is his name.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any film or highlights of him, so I can't say one way or another. But I will say, if you're going to tell me that with the, let's say we finish with the 10th or 9th pick in the draft, if you're going to tell me that with the 9th overall pick that I can get a running back that can have the same impact on the team like a Jonathan Taylor or a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Derrick Henry or any of the other top 5 running backs, I might take that with Jayden Daniels because I know that it'll help the overall team probably quicker than any other piece. But outside of that, I just feel like the running backs we have now and whatever we can get in the mid round might be good enough. But if things fall into place where Jeremiah Love is a next generation Bijan Robinson or hell, even after last Sunday, Travion Henderson, if you're telling me that he could have that much of an impact with the Jayden Daniels, I'm risking that pick.
Yeah. And all those running backs, I mean, good Lord. Saquon, Bijan.
I forgot about Saquon.
Gibbs. Just absolutely. And they took Gibbs 12th overall in Detroit, if I remember correctly.
And we clowned that pick. We clowned that pick. Him and Jack Campbell. Everybody laughed at
I didn't clown Jack Campbell. I love me some Jack Campbell. Go back and watch the tape.
Everybody was like, who drafts a linebacker this early? Who drafts a running back?
That draft class, they nailed that draft class like no other. They got Laporta in that draft guy, Brian Branch. Like they just killed that draft.
They got Branch in that draft. Oh, they got all 4 of those players in that one draft.
Remember Williams was hurt at Alabama or something.
Yeah,
he didn't
tore his
play.
ACL.
ACL.
They still took him like with the 9th pick or something like that year.
And that might not have been the same draft, but I feel like it was. If I'm wrong, forgive me. But I know that they had who's their Brad Holmes, their GM. Yeah, they were just lights out.
Funny part is we have one of those front office personnel here, but it don't look like it so far.
Our draft looked like some dookie this year. To use a technical term, sorry. I don't want to get too high level on you guys, film junkie.
Williams was drafted in 2022. That was a year, right? Jahmyr Gibbs draft year. No, 2023. Okay, the year before. Williams didn't play in 2022, though. He played in 2023, which is why it felt like he came from the same class.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Some big news in Commanders land. Dan Quinn is now taking over play calling for Joe Witt. Eric, big deal or nothing but nothing?
Too late. I don't know. I think early in the season that might have made a difference when there was some health, but they're so just destroyed with injuries, especially in the secondary now and the defensive line, that I don't know changing the play caller is going to make that big of a difference, except that maybe players won't look lost as much as they do. That'd be the biggest improvement is that, if they're getting beat, but at least they're like, you can tell that they're within 5 yards of the receiver when they catch the ball. That'll be an improvement over what we've been seeing, especially last week. Good Lord, those receivers were so open. The Seattle receivers and the Detroit receivers were just running, looked like open field, no matter what. There was nobody around those guys. So we can improve on that. Having guys that are in a position, we'll take some of that in the vicinity, Benjamin St. Juice stuff. We'll take what we can get at this point, but I don't know how much it's going to make of a difference because, the team is just so depleted and not a lot of speed on defense. And the fast guys have kind of been injured. So I don't know how much improvement it's going to make, but it can't get worse. So might as well try it.
Yeah, I think like cornerbacks being not even on the same TV screen as receivers isn't so much about play calling. I think it's about trust in their own skill set, and I'd have to believe to some degree coaching. The
knowing
impact
where
that
they're
Quinn,
supposed to be. Yeah, it's coaching for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, I think the impact that Quinn makes is going to be very marginal because they've been coached to play a certain way all off season. And if the only thing that Quinn has taken over is play calling, you're not going to. If this was offense, maybe because you could run the ball more, right? You could call certain things to change your offensive flow. Defensively, you might blitz more, or you might sit back and play more coverage. But neither one has worked this year, so I'm not entirely sure what Quinn can call differently that's going to be effective, unless he's fundamentally changing how they coach. And we hear the term simplifying the defense all the time, but we can't do anything right defensively with the folks that we have out there. So I think it'll be pretty marginal what his impact is. I would not expect to see dramatic differences. Mike, Deron Payne, suspension, piecing up Amon-Ra St. Brown, who we all like on
That's
this
hilarious.
podcast. What are your thoughts on that situation?
I just don't like the way the NFL and the referees handle it. I don't really have no problem with St. Brown or Payne. Payne was walking back to the huddle. St. Brown was in the way. He like, move out the way. And St. Brown obviously like, bro, don't push me. And they started talking. Brown swung at him. And yeah, that's why Payne retaliated after the touchdown or the 2-point conversion. It had nothing to do with Armand's dance. It had nothing to do with Washington losing. He just let it get back because he got punched in front of a ref, and the ref didn't throw a flag. So as far as what it means for Deron long term, I don't know. He's not a free agent. I don't know why everybody keeps saying that it's a contract year for him. He could get a restructured contract or extension, but he's still under contract for the 2026 season. And the contract isn't like that outrageous where they would need to cut him like they did with Allen. Now, could they? Sure, but I just don't see it, especially with the way they've been talking about him this offseason. And I think this was just a lapse in judgment by him, and he should be back after the bye week and ready to finish the season strong. But that's it. It's not controversial. It sucks that the NFL didn't handle it the right way, but it is what it is. Hopefully he can get a reduced fine now that there's actual tape out there, but I'm pretty sure NFL saw that tape already too, and they still decided to suspend him because he was the one that did it out in the open. Everybody saw it. And it's always that cardinal rule, like it's the one that retaliates that gets caught. So yeah.
Which, by the way, is the stupidest rule in the history of sports. if you, what? Yeah.
Especially when we saw that he didn't retaliate. He got punched first, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. He is under contract, but there is an out to where we'd only have 11 million in dead cap. The question is,
that's a lot of money to have a dead cap to cut somebody.
Especially for an organization that's been relatively cheap with what they're willing to spend in the offseason over the last couple of years. You may as well just ride that deal out in 2026 because in 2027, I think that's when he becomes a true free agent. So why absorb the cap hit there? All right, fellas. We actually do play a football game this week. We play Miami this week at 9:30 a.m. And it is in not in
Madrid.
The U.S. Where is it at? Madrid. That's right. Spain.
Australia.
Madrid. First of all, it's at 9:30 in the morning East Coast time on a Sunday. Are you fellas getting up early to watch this game?
I don't even think I have NFL Network. I cut the cord. I don't even know if it's not on like a CBS or NBC.
They have to
if it's local.
locally.
I'll look. I might watch some of it, but I go to church. I know you guys do too. I'm not skipping that to watch my team get blown out.
All right, well, give me your game predictions for this game and what parts about this game matter to you.
It's so hard to predict these games that are overseas like this because you don't know what jet lag is going to do, even though they're there all week. And it's just a weird situation altogether. It's like a Thursday night game where just like anything can happen. Miami's just blew out the Bills. Miami, Tua Tagovailoa is not great under pressure, but he's good when he's not under pressure. And Washington can't create pressure, so I think that bodes very poorly for what's about to happen. And I think Tua and Jalen Waddle team up and have a big game, and Devin Achane's probably going to have a monster game as well. I think Washington's offense can have success against Miami's defense at the same time. So, if it were like a regular week, I might go like Miami 27-23. So let's just pretend it's a regular week, and I'll go Miami 27-23.
Yeah, Tua has 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. If you look at his last 4 games, he has 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. If you look at his last 5 games, he has 6 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He's not been good this year.
Give him a clean pocket.
Did play well against the Bucs.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, most of these teams can bring pressure. We can't do that. We can't convert, bad passes to interceptions anyway, so it doesn't really matter. What are your thoughts on the game, Mike?
It's funny that Dan Quinn's taking over plays this week because he's notoriously bad versus coaches under the Kyle Shanahan tree. So it's kind of funny that he's about to go against Mike McDaniels. I don't know, man. Like, it's 9:30, like you said. I'm gonna be up anyway in the morning, so I'm gonna definitely watch it. But I just feel like a lot of things are going against Washington right now, including injuries. They lost another starting cornerback. It's not going to be a bloodbath, but I can still see a comfortable double-digit win for Miami. So, man, give me 27-17 Miami.
Yeah, and for the record, I'll be on a plane.
So you're definitely not watching.
Now I'll watch in the airport while I wait for it. But I think I don't know, man. These Eric, you nailed it. These games that are like off schedule always tend to go very poorly, especially against a team's not playing very well recently. Miami's on a little bit of a streak. We're just not great right now. I think this is going to be a pretty awful game. It's hard to motivate players on a losing team to go international and play football unless you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that this is going to be a 37-16 game for Miami. And I think we're going to have a lot of conversations because our bye week is after this game, correct?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think we're going to the bye week, reevaluate Jayden and see where we are as a team and a franchise. So put those mock drafts away. Before we go, Eric, give the people one thing to look forward to with this team the rest of the year.
Carnell Tate. That's my guy. That's my first round pick next year.
All right. Okay. Love the optimism.
There's nothing to look forward to with this team for the rest of the year. Hopefully
Mike?
we get a top pick.
Are you a little bit more optimistic, Mike?
No. What? Of course. The only thing I could tell y'all is the youth movement. Hopefully they start playing some younger players at the end of the season. And other than that, we really need to lose as many games as possible. But I just feel like they're not going to do that, and that's what's going to piss me off more than this season. Not the fact that they suck, but the fact that they didn't suck enough. Pause. But I just know that they're going to finish 7-10. Watch, I know it. I know they're going to finish 7-10, and I'm gonna be all off season. I'm gonna be like, look at this 14th pick when we could have had the 6th or 7th pick, and it's going to piss me off, but. Not that great.
They're 3-6. Where do you see the
3-7? 3-7.
Oh yeah, 3-7. Where do you see the rest of those wins coming from, Mike? You think they're gonna go 7-3?
They shouldn't come from anywhere. Maybe the Giants and Dolphins are the only 2 winnable games left, and I guess you could throw Minnesota on there if you don't feel McCarthy like that. But they're going to find a way. Like it's going to happen.
Jefferson against this secondary.
It's going to. I mean, he McCarthy hasn't been getting him the ball like that though. Naylor's been his man.
Well, Naylor will have 200 yards against this secondary.
I'm telling you,
I could get 200 yards against this secondary.
somehow, some way, we will not be picking in the top 10 this year, and that's going to be the most disappointing thing of the season for me. Is that this team doesn't end up with a top 10 pick? That's going to piss me off.
We shall see. Commanders Dolphins this Sunday. Marcus Mariota versus Tua Tagovailoa. And Jalen Waddle and his speed are going to be an absolute show against our secondary. But we will survive. Commanders Declassified Nation, as always, we appreciate you. Make sure you're locked in, subscribe, click the button to get all your notifications and such. We are out of here. Peace and peace.